everybody, it's Zach, aka Zach's Reviews. We are back again with another video, and guys, today we're going to be talking about 2003's Daredevil. I vaguely remember this movie. Of course, I've seen sequences. Of course, I've seen photos. Literally, I knew right away, and this will be my spoiler review. Literally, I knew right away going into this movie because my sister, Bethany, wanted to rewatch it just because, we saw a video recently of them comparing on, why 2003's, Daredevil with, Ben Affleck and, Jennifer Gardner and, Colin Farrell, why that version didn't work, and why, Netflix's Daredevil starring Charlie Cox and all them, why that did work. And, that was an interesting video to me, and, that me and my sister thought about is, why didn't that work? And, why was it so goofy? Why was it so edgy and so, you know what I mean? And so, and so, punk and all that, it's just so edgy and so dark and so weird. Why didn't that work? And why is it just so, goofy? And we thought to ourselves, literally, there's no reason, people could say, oh, it was just because it was made in 2003, because in 2002, that's when Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1 came out, and it's why didn't it work? They had something to look up to on the fact of it can work. Without Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1, this movie wouldn't have even been created. That movie really opened the world to superhero movies and superhero genre, in general. That's what set the path for the MCU and everything as we know now. So how come that movie just didn't work? And it all goes down to the way of the directors on how they thought it was going to go, and the writers and everybody. And to find out, today I found out that the director, which the name of the director is Mark Steven Johnson. He actually directed Ghost Rider with Nicolas Cage, and I love that movie. And to find out that he made Ghost Rider, but he also made this piece of crap, was really oh my god, that shocks me, because it's he's learned from his mistake from this movie, because this movie literally just did not work. I think they had, I don't know if they had probably good intentions on on them making this movie. It just did not work. This movie is just, I've always found goofy. Just by, Ben Affleck's take on Matt Murdock, on how he is pretty much a vampire sleeping in a coffin to drown out his hearing, his his heightened hearing and senses and everything. He needs this water vampire chamber to block out all the noise, and it's that's stupid, because as we all know, Matt Murdock never needed that. That character never needed that. Daredevil never needed that to cope with his abilities. So that was one thing I was this is stupid. I don't like how they're doing this. And it almost seemed like he had this almost like he had this manner. It almost seemed very Bruce Wayne. That's what they were going for in this movie. Very bad. And it's funny because his heightened senses are sonar of a bat, and we get a scene where bats come out of a church, and it's just very just edgy, and the music choices weren't good in this movie, and just the cut sequences were weird in this movie. The one sequence where we start off this movie to begin with. We start off this movie where the tail end of this movie ends. So we started off where he's injured. He's at Father Landon's church. I don't even know if he was called Father Landon. I wasn't sometimes things were dialogue was very hard to hear in this movie, for starters. Music would be so loud, but the dialogue would be so low, and I'm okay, I didn't know if that was Father Landon or not, but we get the point where he is all injured talking to Father Landon. And then it cuts back to his childhood and how, him and his father and how he got his abilities, and his father being, pretty much, I guess, pretty much, I don't even say a hitman, but a money collector for, essentially, I'm assuming, for Fisk and all that stuff. And then him not taking the fall, as we all know, in the ring, and him getting killed because he didn't take the fall in the ring. And really, that montage of Matt doing handstands as a teenager, on the edge of a building and sliding down on this pole. It was very cheesy and corny. I was like, this just isn't working for me. And just seeing it was very heavily CGI'd, and I keep thinking to myself again, how did this movie not work when you had Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1 a year previously before this movie came out? Like, how? Why is this so heavily CGI'd? Quick cuts, not really seeing what action's going on, especially in the bar sequence when he's going after the one dude that sexually assaulted a girl, and he pretty much ends up hunting down the dude because he ends up getting off and ends up having this big brawl in a bar with this loud rock music, like this punk rock music, just blasting. And we just get all these dark quick cuts. He's taking all the lights. They focus on the weapons that he's throwing, and it just was not working. You really didn't get a chance to see the action going on in the movie. And when we find out when he's actually going after the dude, he ends up breaking this man's back and pretty much he ends up falling into on the trolley tracks or the subway tracks, and ends up getting ran over and ends up getting killed. And I was like, wow, that was the one thing I was not expecting to see Matt Murdock kill when his character is against killing. So when I saw that happen, I was like, wow. I was like the director really did not know this character and really wanted this character to be Batman. It's like I feel like the director misunderstood his character, and because as we all know, back in the day, Batman was such a forefront character in general, not even of Marvel, but like it was such a big character, Batman. And I feel like that's what they wanted this character to be, because there is a lot of similarities to Daredevil and Batman, if you want to go to the fact that they come out at night and all that stuff, but that's pretty much it, and their martial arts capabilities. But like it's like he wanted this to be Batman, and I got a lot of Batman things, and it just so happens that Ben Affleck becomes Batman in the future, but like it just didn't feel like Daredevil for how like him being violent, him killing people, and like that's not the first time he's killed someone or stuff like we really see that through the movie, him killing people. And then the one funny sequence that I was just laughing is when they come to the crime scene, and we actually end up seeing I forget what his name is. It's Ben. It's Ben something. And I'm trying to find out. Ben Urich. Yeah, Ben Urich. He actually was at the crime scene, and the next thing we get he's like, oh, I wonder who did this, and the next thing it's like the Daredevil logo, DD, pops up, and it's like it's just all on fire, and it's like I could just see Matt up in the rafters, hitting a button, and the D pops up on the ground. It was so corny and cheesy. I'm like, how could this be like this? Like I was just laughing. I mean, the one thing I could say about this movie is this movie literally made me laugh. It's because again, I just don't understand why the director thought it was a good idea for Ben to make a face like that, a derp face like that, and it's like you can't take Matt Murdock seriously when he's making a face like that. It's like, why would you think a blind person would make a face like that? You know what I mean? It's like why would you do that? It's like, you know what I mean? I don't understand why they would do it. Do it like that. I just didn't understand because again, it's like I wouldn't blame all for Ben on that. It's like the director's choice on how he probably should be making the face, when the mask gets taken off and we see Matt Murdock and everything like that. Because again, we've seen the right way Matt Murdock should look, because we see how Charlie Cox plays Matt Murdock. He doesn't make a weird face. He just is he has a way of looking to the side and stuff like that, but not giving it where it's people can make, make jokes about it, about, you're representing, the blind community, and it's just, I don't understand why they would they would let, Ben make a face like that, let them saying, okay, maybe Ben let's not make a face like that, but let's do it just normally, but make it, make it look like you're looking around your surroundings and stuff, but you're really not doing it making a face like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to say, guys. So I just don't understand why they would do that, because that's literally what this movie is known for, is Ben's derp face when he's when he's playing Matt Murdock, and that's really upsetting, because this is such a icon. This is such a like important character in the Marvel comics. I mean, it's a very underrated character that not many people really like know about until now. So like, you know what I mean? Like, for instance, like not many people knew about Daredevil until Charlie Cox's Daredevil like came out. Like at least people didn't really respect Daredevil until Charlie Cox's Netflix's Daredevil came out. And I mean, that's where I really got into Daredevil, is with Charlie's Daredevil. I mean, some other people might like Ben's portrayal of Matt Murdock in Daredevil, but I just did not like it. I thought it was goofy, cheesy, especially, Jennifer Gardner. I love Jennifer Gardner, but just, the way they wrote that character of Elektra, and where we see Elektra being portrayed in present day for us. You know what I mean? It's like, that was the right Elektra, and they literally had no respect for Elektra in that time. You know what I mean? In 2003, I'm like, they didn't write the character well. And her, like, just also, like, the love connection that she had to Matt was too quick. It was like, okay, this is very weird. It's like they're already saying, oh, like, don't, I love you, oh, don't leave, oh, stay, and just, it's like, it just wouldn't build that, that quickly. It was just like they rushed everything, and it was just like not good. It was not played very well. And like the moment where the cheesiest moment was probably when they're fighting in a children's playground. That made me laugh. I was like, oh my God. I was like, because there was a moment where like, Matt throws his cane up, and I was like, oh my God, what if I hit a kid, like, in the playground? Like, what the hell? And like, child endangerment, like, you're gonna kick a kid by mistake, or some shit's gonna happen. And the one moment where, like, I think he threw his cane to the side, he's getting in his fighting stance, and he ends up catching the cane, his, walking stick, and I told my sister, I'm like, that walking stick had some airtime. Like, that thing, like, took forever to come back down. I'm like, holy crap. So, like, that whole fight sequences where they're fighting on the seesaw, I was like, this is so goofy. Like, again, how can you make a movie like this so goofy, so corny, so heavily CGI that it looks like claymation, but then you have, again, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1. It's like, I don't understand how that's possible. It's like they went into this movie wanting it to be bad. They went into this movie not knowing Matt Murdock, a.k.a. Daredevil. I was like, how do you mess this up? And also, the one thing I felt like we really, like, the really thing that was really, like, the heart of this movie, what should have made this movie work, is the fact of Matt Murdock struggles with the fact that he doesn't kill. And always, you know what I mean? And that's always a struggle to him, that he doesn't kill. And finding and him trying to, like, go against him going past that line of killing. And it's like not until the end of this movie where he kind of, at least I think he realizes, when he doesn't kill Kingpin, that he's not a bad man. And I'm like, okay, this is stupid, because Matt's never killed. I was like, this is stupid, why he's killing now, and now he's not killing. I'm like, this just goes against his character to begin with, that he is killing in this movie. So it takes away what we love about the character, and especially it takes away, like, for people that are being introduced to the character, that you're showing that it's okay for that this character kills, and like you're ruining the character. So that's why I really hated about this movie, is like, you're starting off this movie for people, being introduced to this character, thinking that Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, kills. When again, Matt Murdock struggles the fact that he doesn't kill, but he struggles with the fact thinking, should he kill? And like thinking, if I don't kill, these things happen, and when I don't kill, like, bad things happen, when you know what I mean, like that. So it's like, it's the struggle that you're taking away when he's just already killing. It's like, Matt Murdock does not kill. Matt Murdock is a Catholic and is all for not killing and stuff like that. And we really see the struggle and all that, you know what I mean, with the character. And the one thing I really hated also is, like, the promise he made to his father was that he wouldn't pick a fight, he wouldn't do any, like, you know what I mean, he would just, hit the books and focus on, you know what I mean, on school and everything like that. But then the promise that it says after his father dies, oh, I made a promise to my father that I would protect the weak and all that stuff. I'm like, that's not the promise you made to your father. That doesn't make any sense. Like, a lot of things didn't make any sense in this movie, and the one gripe I really had was him killing in the movie. That's not Matt Murdock. He does not kill. He defends, you know what I mean? He doesn't care about money. Like, he takes the lower cases, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? He fights for the people. and that's why I was like, okay, you got that right. You're fighting, you know what I mean? Because he even goes against and I love how Jon Favreau is playing Foggy, but even his character wasn't right because he was fighting against Matt, saying, "Oh, let's take, why don't we work with the rich people? When, you know what I mean, why don't we work for Fisk and take, you know, his cases and stuff?" When that's not Foggy's character, it's like he would never go. He wants clients and stuff, but he would never work for a person knowing that what Fisk is into. And I just found that bad that's he was fighting like against Matt to work for a person like Fisk. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense either. Is that he wants clients. He's not like a person like how Matt like is. He doesn't care about the money. He just wants to fight for the people. Same as how Foggy, like, he wants to fight for the people, but he wants to make sure that he has a stable living. Being a lawyer. So it's like they fight for the same thing, but at the same time is that Foggy wants money. You know what I mean? He wants to make sure that he has, a living, doing this. He has, you know what I mean? He can put food on the table and do all these things. So it's just, I didn't like that where they were going with the character, and it seems like, I really like the other Foggy Nelson that we have in Netflix's Daredevil more because we really get more growth with that character. We really see the friendship between Matt and Foggy. I feel like we didn't really feel that connection in this movie. I didn't feel like they were all that close, and it just felt like they were just colleagues and that was it. They weren't really friends. I didn't really feel the friend dynamic in this movie, and I feel like that was kind of like, disappointing that we really didn't feel how close they were, because I mean they were lifelong friends since college. And you really didn't feel that in this movie. And you really didn't feel like Foggy was all in for helping the little guy. He was just in it for the money, it kind of felt like. And that kind of upset me because that's not Foggy's character. So overall, it's like it felt like the director really didn't know the character of Matt Murdock in Daredevil, or his friends that he's had and stuff like that, like with Foggy and Karen. We didn't really get much of Karen Page in this movie. It was very disappointing, to say the least, on knowing what we know now, and it probably is, you know what I mean, and how it's done the right way with, again, Netflix's Daredevil, with, Charlie Cox and everybody in that show, to what people's first initial thoughts were when it got first introduced as a movie, or people first got introduced to the character back in the time of 2003. It's like you left a bad taste in people's mouth, and people probably don't want anything to do, with, the character of Daredevil now. But it's like they really have, respect to the people over at Netflix, because they gave everybody the right interpretation of this is how Daredevil's supposed to be. And now look how many people are loving the character now, with, ever since it's been on Netflix, and now him being, in the MCU. And it's like people want to root for this character. People are now fighting for this character to have come back. Netflix's Daredevil to come back to be in the MCU. We really see the fans rally behind this character now because of Netflix taking over Daredevil and really making him, and showing us like he is a badass character. And I really appreciate Netflix for doing that, because again, could you imagine if that's all we got of Daredevil and people never knew how badass and how cool this character is if it wasn't for Netflix? Like, we really do owe a lot to Netflix, and especially, the casting directors to cast Charlie and to cast everybody that do a phenomenal job in that show. You know what I mean? So we get that's how Daredevil's supposed to be. That's how his universe is supposed to be. This is what he fights for, and I really appreciate, again, Netflix did that, because again, it brought a lot of people that did have that bad taste in their mouth to come back and to really experience how the characters should really be. And that's why I really appreciate where Daredevil is now and how people can really appreciate how good the character is. But yeah, like I thought that the Bullseye in this movie, Colin Farrell's Bullseye was so goofy. Such a bad villain. I was like, oh my god, this is terrible. Having a bullseye on his head and being engraved in his head, having him do like this, doing weird faces and just acting weird, saying I never miss, and like, you know what I mean, and just like, and him hissing at a rat and him going like this, like just acting all goofy and just seeming like he's all like, just. I literally, it was very odd and weird. I was like, this is just not good, and this is just so cheesy, and I just did not like it. I found it, I went into this movie going for a laugh because I knew it was going to be bad. I was like, I know from what I know of this movie, it's going to be bad. And it's sad because there's no memorable moments that people can think of this as, like, if it, like that it's good, except Ben Affleck's dirt face and, you know, and Bullseye being over the top, cheesy, corny, and you know what I mean, like just like seemingly acting like a Power Ranger villain. Like, it was just bad. I was like, wow. And again, Colin Farrell does an amazing job. I just think that, again, the writers and the director letting them say, okay, this is how we want you to play the character, you know, really screwed up how good we know how these actors and, you know, actresses are, you know, in the movie. It really screws up because we know they're good, but again, it's like, again, they're not in control of the way the director and the writers and the producers all want them to play the characters. And that's what really upset me, is just like it really annoys me. And I do think they have it right now. It's like, okay, we're on the right path because we know how they're supposed to be. Like, I think Charlie does a way better job than Ben. I think, the girl that played, Elektra in the Netflix Daredevil series did a better job than Jennifer Gardner and all that stuff. It's like, because they had the right, writing material, the right directors, the right producers and everything a part of Netflix to really pull that off, and they found the right people to play those roles. And it just really upsets me because when you have such, a juggernaut of, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, paving the way of superhero movies, it would really suck to be like, okay, we're really gonna, like, it's like they didn't want to try the one up it, and they made it very cheesy and very bad, and that's really sad because, again, people, like, it's like they started the path for them, and it's like they didn't try the up it. They just said, okay, let's be crazy, let's just not have a care in the world. It seemed like that's what they wanted the movie to be, and that's just very upsetting because, again, that left a bad taste in people's mouths, and people did not want to go probably watch the character going forward until Netflix's Daredevil. So yeah, literally, guys, I just did not like this movie, especially like the way they wrote, Daredevil, where like he gets stabbed by Elektra, and Elektra thinks that he killed, her father when it was actually clearly Bullseye, and like she's laying on the ground because she ends up getting in the limo with her father, and Bullseye is going after her father because he wants Kingpin to buy all of his shares, so he's no longer involved with Kingpin. Kingpin doesn't like it and ends up sending Bullseye after Elektra's father. And the fact of the moment where like he ends up trying to knowing that Elektra's in danger with her father, ends up getting in the suit, chasing, and it's like a big sequence where he's running on the rooftop trying to catch up to the limo, and here comes Bullseye, all like goofy, standing on the motorcycle, no hands, getting these throwing stars from his belt buckle, ends up throwing them at the car, and through the car windshield, killing the drivers, and the limo crashing, and then next thing you know, he's just like tries to throw something like a throwing star at Daredevil. He ends up missing, and he's like, I never miss. Ends up riding towards Daredevil. Daredevil ends up kicking him in the head, ends up smacking him off his bike. It was just so corny and dumb. I was like, oh my god. I'm like, what's happening right now? And like the moment where like again he ends up taking one of Daredevil's batons and ends up throwing it at Elektra's father, and Matt can't get to him in time and ends up killing him, and Elektra thinks it was Daredevil when it wasn't Daredevil. And then when she ends up trying to there's a montage sequence that made me laugh where like Elektra's training in her apartment and sandbags start dropping from the ceilings, and then she's like it has that one song, and she's like like stabbing these sandbag heads. And then she ends up throwing her I forget what it's called, her sai, ends up throwing it, and ends up getting it into like the painted Daredevil sandbag. I was like, that's so goofy. She went to the arts and crafts store, ended up painting on that one specific sandbag head to throw it into that one head so we could realize that she was going after Daredevil. It just was so corny and cheesy. I was like, oh my god, she really spent the time to have these sandbags drop. It just seemed so staged, and it just seemed so goofy. It's just, this movie just did not work. With the over-the-top CGI, with the crappy fight sequences, cut sequences, them not getting Matt Murdock right, them making him feel like he's Batman. It just did not work. It seemed very edgy and very corny, and it just did not work, guys. I had a laugh with this movie again because Colin Farrell is probably the best part of this movie of the laughter element, along with Ben's derp face. It just did not work. This movie is literally a comedy of laughter. It's just not good, and it just really annoys me that this was people's first initial, introducing of the character, and that's how they got introduced to the character of somebody, that's edgy, that's like a vampire-esque, that acts like a vampire, and it just isn't, or acts like a bat or whatever, or like a vampire / bat. It just did not work. It just didn't work, guys. And I'm really going to know down in the comments below if you guys like this 2003 Daredevil movie. Again, I just find it very funny. It was just, I think it was a comedy to me. I don't even think it was like a good interpretation of Daredevil and his universe. I just did not like it at all. And I don't know. It just did not work for me. And feeling the emotional connection and the emotional drive of the movie, I just felt like it was not there. And just things being weird where the one moment where Matt is taking Elektra, Elektra follows Matt and says, I was wondering, I tried to find you, or I was wondering, where you went. And he's follow me somewhere, and she ends up wearing a skirt when she was wearing pants before. I was like, what the hell? I was like, what? I was like, are we missing a scene? I was like, did something get left on the cutting room floor and she just ends up is wearing a skirt now? I'm like, I'm confused. It just did not work at all, guys. It is so goofy. But I had a laugh. That's it. I just had a laugh. It was over the top. It was loud. Again, I couldn't hear the dialogue, and I'm just happy we have the right interpretation of Daredevil now. Because I think Charlie kills it, and I think he is Daredevil. I think this had to happen for us to get Charlie. And you know what I mean? That's pretty much it. That movie had to happen. That bad movie had to happen. The comedy had to happen for us to get Charlie Cox in the great cast of the Marvel, Daredevil universe. And I just think that, yeah. But guys, I'm interested. Do you guys think 2003's Daredevil was goofy and bad too? If you guys do, let me know down in the comments below, because I think it was goofy and bad. Again, this will be probably. I don't even know if I'd ever watch this movie again. Maybe for the funny sequences, the funny comedic sequences. Because also, when he gets stabbed by Elektra, we've seen Daredevil get beat to shit and still get up. But he gets stabbed in the shoulder and is calling it quits and ends up letting Bullseye stab her and kill her, or so-called killer, because we end up knowing that she gets a sequel movie, and I think it's in 2004. She ends up getting a movie, of her own, a standalone movie. So it's and they kind of hint to her being alive at the end of the movie, and they kind of hint to the moment where Daredevil ends up killing Bullseye, knowing that the SWAT's on the roof ends up shooting a sniper bullet, ends up getting through Bullseye's hands. And then Daredevil kicks him through the church, stained glass, ends up making him slam on the police car, and I think he's dead. But he ends up being alive at the end of the movie. From what I saw on YouTube, when I looked up Daredevil on YouTube, there was I think it's an end credit scene or something like that, or maybe a deleted scene where he ended up being alive. I don't know. I didn't stay for at the end of the credits or whatever. I don't know if they did that back then, but finding out that he's alive now, I'm like, okay, how's that possible? Man literally fell so far, fell from so high up and landed on a cruiser car's windshield. How is he still alive? And how is she still alive when she gets stabbed in the stomach and ends up getting her neck sliced by a playing card by Bullseye? I'm like, why? It doesn't make any sense. It just does not make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that he was out of commission by getting stabbed in the shoulder. But yeah, we know Matt's gotten beat to shit and he still keeps going. It's they literally just had bad writing and bad. Yeah, it was just bad. The bad writing, bad cutscene fighting, bad dialogue, bad character connection / development. And this movie was just a goofy mess, quite honestly. And again, no knock to Jennifer Gardner or Ben Affleck. You know what I mean? They've had great careers. I don't think they're bad at their jobs. I think they're great. They've done some great things. I think Ben Affleck kills it as Batman. He's actually, I've learned to love his Batman, and you know what I mean. Or at least his interpretation of Batman, I've learned to love it. And also, Jennifer Gardner's killed it with all the other things she's done in her career, and I think she's a great actress. So again, no knock to any of them, especially Colin Farrell. Like, he's playing, Penguin in the Batman this year. So I'm excited for his appearance in the Batman. He's done some great other projects. He's done some great other projects. I loved him and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I think that was the first one. Maybe it was just called Fantastic Beasts, the first one. I loved him in that one. When he played Grindelwald in that. But other than that, I mean, I haven't seen anything else he's been into except some other projects I can't think at the top of my head. But he's a great actor. I just think it was the director, the writers, and everybody giving them making it seem like that's the way they wanted the characters to be, when that was not. They should have let them do their research and play them the way that they should have been played. You know what I mean? I don't blame them for that. I blame the director and everybody that was that had anything to do with letting them make those choices, or making them make those choices to do something like that, because it was bad. But guys, that was a video. Again, I want to know if you guys think this movie was bad. I want to know if you guys think this movie was good. Do you guys think this movie needed to happen for us to get the great series that we know of Netflix's Daredevil? And let me know, whose Daredevil do you prefer? Do you prefer Charlie Cox's Daredevil, or do you prefer Ben Affleck's Daredevil? Do you prefer Jennifer Gardner's Elektra, or do you prefer I forget the actress that plays Elektra in the Netflix Daredevil series, but let me figure that out real quick. Netflix Daredevil Elektra. That popped up right away. I think her name is Elodie Young. She kills it as Elektra, and also she's been in other great projects. I think she was in I forget what the one movie was called. I'm gonna click. She was in one movie that I really did enjoy. Gods of Egypt. I liked her character in Gods of Egypt. But yeah, she kills it as Elektra. I think she's my personal favorite. At playing that, as Elektra, I think she kills as Elektra. I think she is Elektra. And I think Charlie is Matt Murdock / Daredevil, and I think Vincent D'Onofrio is Kingpin. I think they fit those characters the best. I think they portray those characters the best. So yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't blame them. I just blame the writing and the director for for how that movie turned out. But yeah, guys, that was a video. Again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, put in notifications, like this video. I'd love to have you guys here, part of this family on this channel. Again, we're all about spreading love, positivity, and motivation here on this channel. Again, I just thought this movie was goofy, and I think it needed to happen for us to get the movie, the show, and the right, and you know what I mean, and how, and for us to get what we know now as one of the greatest, outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Marvel shows ever. But now it's a part of the MCU, so one of the greatest, I guess, technically MCU shows now that it's I think it's canon, because Vincent D'Onofrio said it was canon. So technically, if this has been a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that is the best Marvel Cinematic Universe show ever, hands down. Daredevil, that's facts. But yeah, guys, I have laughs with this movie, and I probably will watch it again, maybe with my sister if we want to get more laughs from it. We'll probably watch it again. But yeah, I just think it was one of those goofy, cheesy movies that I guess they thought it was a good to go that route. But again, you know what I mean? The director really did make a comeback with Ghost Rider. I love Ghost Rider with Nicolas Cage. So, shout out to him to make a bounce back, because he made a bounce back with that movie. So again, you know what I mean? He learned from his mistakes. He did, because Ghost Rider, the first one, I love. So, yeah. But guys, that was the video. I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.